All right, episode 26, Fall of the Roman Empire. I know it's not called that, but the price for pride. But I want to talk about these guys because you might have heard from a lot of people history repeats itself. You don't really know what that means, do you? Well, if we don't learn from our mistakes, nature tends to make us pay for it, but I digress. Another thing that people usually reference is the fall of the Roman Empire. You might hear this that the American Empire, is suffering from the same thing. I thought I would save you the 22 minutes you could invest in watching a whole video with timestamps. I'll just give it to you like this. I ain't doing timestamps. You just gotta listen to me and put up with it. But, anywho, let's get into it. So, one of the things that Rome had to deal with. Tell me if any of this sounds familiar and makes you think. Rome had open borders. Now, what does that mean? Their border control was that just was it. They didn't really have really good border control, which led to barbarian attacks. When I say border control, I'm not referring to the border control that America is talking about. Hey, I guess you could make that synoptic if you wish, but I wasn't there in Rome, all right? So I can't tell you. I can't really compare experiences here, but here's the problem. When your borders are not secure, this is what happened at Rome. They had barbarian attacks, constant barbarian attacks. Attila the Hun was involved, and they just constantly kept attacking Rome. I'm giving you the cliff notes. Do your own research here. Another issue was Rome was split. I'm going to say that again. Another issue was Rome is split. So when the country was being attacked, the other side of Rome, which had more economic, I believe the West, Rome was split into two portions, you can say. The west side, if I'm not mistaken, had more economic, financially stable, and then the east side that was like the farmer agricultural. It was poor. They didn't really have like those minerals. So they're kind of poor. They were feeding the country, but they weren't really they didn't have gems and jewels. So I don't know what's going on. Needless to say, that was the side that was getting attacked. Now, let's be fair. America has this thing called two bodies of water. If you didn't know, on the east it's called the Atlantic Ocean, and at the other side by California it's called the Pacific Ocean. So the coastlines, yeah, you gotta traverse all that. Pretty sure the Navy got that on cap. Canada doesn't seem like they're too crazy, but and then there's Mexico, but looks like Texas got that on lock. There's New Mexico, so I guess there's that. Needless to say, I digress. So I just want to point out, barbarian attacks, but America is in a very conspicuous location. I mean, I can't imagine Texas. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I like to be a strategic guy. I'm like, yeah, I can't imagine Texas bending the knees, but in any event, I digress. So barbarian attacks are messing up Rome. Now, I want you to understand everything I'm saying. It ties into it. One thing by itself doesn't sound bad, but when you start tying them all together, you see how there's a crescendo going on, like a domino effect. The next thing was moral degradation and moral support. Now, what I mean by that is the degradation was because Rome, since they had open borders and barbarian attacks and people were switching sides, nationalism for Rome was dropping like a rock, especially when the nail on the head was a certain guy came back from the grave. Google him. He's pretty iconic. There's like 10,000, it's like 5,000 Greek manuscripts about this guy, and he's a carpenter's son. Word on the street got out that he made this claim and said he is the Son of God. Well, do you know who else made that claim? It was a guy. His name was Caesar. And Caesar said he is the Son of God. Well, Caesar died, and he's got his kids, which I'm going to tie that next. His kids took involved, and you know how that goes. Leadership wasn't voted in. It was just like, I want to say lobbying, if that's a thing back in the day. They just kind of pulled strings, but anyway, it was succession. I say all this to make this point. Because of the moral degradation and the moral support it works both ways, right? Like the support you would have gotten Here's why that ties in. Let me say it like this. Ever since that guy came back from the grave, Jesus Christ, the reason why people submitted to Rome, there's many reasons, right? Fear, intimidation, the cross. Isn't it interesting? This guy, the instrument of death itself, he has conquered it. So it's like everyone's fear of Rome and subjugation was just like shattered. No one cared about paying their taxes. But I digress. The issue is the support you needed, you no longer have. Like, there's not much nationalism. And so then another thing as well is a lot of times the leadership, okay? The leaders, to get people to listen to them, you conquer people and it's like, oh, hey, why should I listen to you? Person who just conquered my civilization. Well, because I am a descendant from the gods. It's a very interesting trope, right? It's like, okay, if I'm a deity, then you should listen to me, and or I can kill you. It's a pretty good argument. Only problem was some guy said that, and he wasn't messing around when he said that. So now we have a conflict of interest. The last bit, I'm going to tell it this. If you get nothing else, it's this, gang. It really boils down to this. It is worthless leadership. And the internal corruption within the country itself. What I mean by worthless leadership, they're actually the ruler of Rome on the west side. I forget his name, but long story short, when he heard that people on the east side were getting attacked, barbarians butchered, military getting slaughtered, the barbarians getting, and he woke up from shock. It's like, oh my gosh, he's gonna help them, right? And he's like, oh, I just thought my pet chicken died. Never mind the fact that everyone else is getting slaughtered. And it's like, oh. And that's what I mean by leadership. The leadership wasn't people who should have got the job, who were qualified. It was people who were playing a game called, if you were the son of so and so, then we'll put you in. Even if the leader would be like a child. If the dad died for whatever reason, we would just give it to the kid. The kid's 8 years old. Oh, well, got no one else to give it to. It's like, well, can we give it to someone who's like, qualified? Now, obviously, America's not doing that in its own special way, but I digress. I can tell you this. Look up this guy, John C. Maxwell. He's a leadership guru, but one of his favorite, most famous quotes is quite literally, everything rises and falls on leadership. You cannot blame anything except on the leader. Why? Because ultimately, the person who has the authority and control to fix this does not care. And if you really think about it, if the leaders from the west of Rome, you can fact check me, of course, but I want you to understand the moral point here, took all this crap seriously. He listened to the sergeant. Oh, hey, East Rome's getting messed up by barbarians. Oh, well, it's just another Tuesday. Well, that doesn't bother me. Hey, the civilians aren't really listening to us. They don't really care. They're not paying their taxes. Oh, well, I'm just gonna keep eating these grapes. I mean, it just doesn't bother me. And eventually, Rome gets conquered and it all falls apart. And it's just like, isn't it interesting how when they had a good leader, no one was paying around with that foolishness. But when the leadership started collapsing and simultaneously leadership on the opposing side was strong, all hell broke loose. So it works both ways. So with that, I want you to know the price for pride. And the price was high. The price for indulgence, and I would say it's also arrogance. Is there a time in your life where you feel that, the rules, they apply, but they just don't apply to me? We're doing everything that another civilization did that led to their fall, but I'm different. I'm the main character. It's like, we'll find out, won't we? Is it worth finding out? Would it be better to pay the cost for change or the price for your pride? You both got to pay for something, but one is less severe and permanent. And with that, that's all. All right. Let's see if this uploads because my other videos just keep beep bopping around. And I thank you for your patience. If you know, you know. All right. Have a blessed day. Hope that made you think, and I will talk to you later. Deuces.